Welcome back to Umpire Magazine, The Hot Take. I'm Alex, and I need to address something before Jamie even opens his mouth. Last week, Jamie, you told our listeners that the apartment complex I described now had a penthouse. You were very proud of that. You were basically doing a victory lap around a building with no fire escapes. How's that penthouse looking now?
I'm Jamie, and the penthouse is fine. Alex, the penthouse has a jacuzzi now. Wrath is at 42.6 million cumulative. That's not a 3 out of 10 apartment anymore. That's a 3 out of 10 apartment that has somehow been rezoned as luxury housing. The magazine literally calls it a genuinely impressive total, and I am clinging to those two words like a life raft.
Umpire also called this week Tepid. Their thermometer switched itself off, Jamie. That's not a jacuzzi, that's a lukewarm puddle. And I want credit for something. Last week I said the bar was on the floor and all 3 new films tripped on it. This week, not a single title cracked above a 4 out of 10. The bar is now underground. It has achieved geological depth.
Okay, yes, the critical scores are a wasteland, I'll give you that. But can we talk about Space Lost for a second? 10.2 million in its first full week, 23.6 million cumulative. The magazine says critics loathe it, and punters adore it in the grand tradition of films your film studies lecturer would call problematic while secretly watching on a Friday night. And that is the most beautifully specific burn I've ever read.
It's a 4 out of 10 horror sci-fi hybrid that's printing money, which, if you recall, is exactly the dynamic I predicted last week when I said a 4 out of 10 was basically a standing ovation. I was right then. I'm right now. Space Lost is the standing ovation that makes the audience slightly nauseous.
You're going to keep citing yourself like a professor assigning his own textbook, aren't you? But fine. Let's talk about the thing that actually broke my heart this week. Small isn't even on the weekly chart anymore. Last week, I got emotional about Small being the biggest thing in the building at 53 million, and now the magazine doesn't even mention it. The tallest person in the room left the room. Alex.
Small had its moment. A 4 out of 10 comedy that became the highest-grossing film in Follywood history. It's like watching a substitute teacher accidentally become principal and then quietly retire before anyone notices. But speaking of quiet retirements, can we discuss Paper Comets? $428,000.
Oh no, 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 no. The magazine says its name increasingly feels like a description of its box office trajectory. Beautiful, brief, and disintegrating on entry. That sentence physically wounded me. Last week I defended Paper Comet's aspirations, and the magazine said Follywood crushed them with a 3. And now this week it's not even crushing, it's just gently dissolving. Like cotton candy in rain.
Cotton candy in a hurricane. And below Paper Comets, there's literally nothing. The Last Voyage scored a 2 out of 10 and earned $0. Zero. The magazine is already writing the obituary, and the film hasn't even opened yet. It opens next week. They're pre-mourning it. That's not a review cycle, that's hospice care.
But Alex, the middle of the chart is fascinating in the worst possible way. The Rising Cathedral, Neon Parish, and the Silent Cathedral all earned almost exactly the same amount, around 1.1 million each, clinging to the chart with the determination of a barnacle on a sinking ship. The magazine said that. Barnacles, Alex, on a sinking ship. 2 cathedrals and a parish, all drowning together.
The religious architecture genre is experiencing a crisis of faith. Land Governor, meanwhile, is just quietly chugging along at 33.5 million total. Umpire calls it the reliable diesel engine of the current slate. Not glamorous, but it gets you there. That's not a compliment. That's how you describe a bus.
A bus that's made $33.5 million. I'll ride that bus. But okay, we need to talk about the press releases because last week, you and I spent a solid chunk of the show on Pitch Black's chaos, and I genuinely thought it couldn't escalate. I was a fool, Alex. A sweet summer fool.
Pitch Black issued a statement about the Ouija board seance where they tried to contact a dead script draft, and the market went up 1.3%. They summoned a ghost screenplay, and shareholders applauded. Then they held the wrath set hostage over Celine again, down 4.2%. And then they issued a statement about issuing too many statements, which cost them another 3.8%. The gaffer filed for what HR is calling existential leave.
Existential leave. Last week you said the gaffer found an invisible ink ultimatum with 13 dots, and then wait for it. And I thought that was rock bottom for that poor man. But now he's filing for existential leave. He has transcended normal workplace distress into philosophical crisis. Someone check on him.
And Mike's movies somehow out-chaos them. MCVW screamed at a laminated poster for 3 minutes about the tagline missing the emotional through line, and the stock went EP 1.2%. Then the elevator pitch marathon. 47 unsolicited pitches between floors 6 and 7, stock surged 4.8%. The market respects passion, apparently, even vertical passion.
But the megaphone mandate that rattled the commissary cost them 4.2%. So there is a line. The magazine says the stock market rewards eccentricity right up until it doesn't. And nobody can tell you where that line is, and I think that line is literally a megaphone. Screaming at posters? Bullish. Screaming through amplification technology? Bearish. There are rules, Alex. We just can't understand them.
Last week, I told everyone rubber ducks are bearish and shadows are bullish. This week, it's Ouija boards are bullish and self-awareness is bearish. The moment Pitch Black acknowledged they issued too many statements, the market punished them. Follywood economics rewards delusion and penalizes introspection. It's genuinely the most honest market I've ever seen.
And the invisible ink billboard war has escalated to actual invisible billboards. Both studios put up completely blank billboards on Follywood Boulevard. MCVW says the invisible ink speaks for itself, and Pitch Black countered with a press release saying their blank billboard is louder. Follywood Bank issued a note that just said, "We are watching this with our eyes closed." I want to frame that sentence and hang it in my office.
Meanwhile, Sticks at Blue Ash sneaked an unfinished film into a test screening where the audience couldn't confirm whether they'd seen a movie or an extended insurance claim. There was a scene featuring a crew member's elbow. They named the clapperboard Cleopatra. I want to be angry, but honestly, I'm just impressed by the commitment to chaos.
Wait. Did you just say something almost positive? Did you just express a form of admiration? I'm marking this date, Alex. July 23rd. The day you found warmth in your cold, dry heart for a man who christened a clapperboard.
Don't push it. Let's talk about next week's openings because this is where I get to be properly miserable. 4 new films arriving July 24th. Join Jupiter, a comedy with a 4 out of 10 whose tagline is "Come on, join me," which the magazine correctly identifies as less an invitation and more a plea.
But a 4 out of 10 is the best score in the entire current landscape. Join Jupiter is arriving as the equal highest-rated film in Follywood. In any normal timeline, that's embarrassing, but right now it's basically an Oscar frontrunner. I will take my victories where I find them, and this is a victory shaped like a participation trophy.
Laughingstock got a 3. Its tagline is, "The joke was on everyone who bought the hype," and the magazine calls it the most accidentally honest piece of marketing this year. The film has a springtime for Hitler premise that practically writes itself, except apparently the film forgot to do the actual writing. That's not a review, that's a murder conviction.
Linda Freaking Superstar, also a 3, comedy horror. And The Able, Quotable Society went viral cataloging the boss's on-set proclamations, including, quote, "Every lens is a promise. And this lens is lying to me." That's not a director. That's a poet having a breakdown near expensive equipment. I kind of love it.
And The Last Voyage. The 2 out of 10. The documentary romance hybrid that critics called a fever dream, scribbled on a cocktail napkin at 3 a.m. Its tagline is, "When everyone forgets their first kiss, nothing stays in frame," which Umpire says is either profoundly poetic or profoundly confused, and then adds, "We suspect we know which." The magazine ended that section with, "Good luck out there, everyone. We'll be in the bar." That's not criticism. That's surrender. Jamie, nothing is breaking through. The 4 out of 10 ceiling has become load-bearing. If you remove it, the entire building collapses. We live in the 4 out of 10 kingdom now. Umpire put it right in the headline. And honestly, I've made peace with it. This is our home. The view is terrible and the rent is too high, but at least Pitch Black's gaffer is on existential leave, and there's a blank billboard war happening outside.
You know what? That might be the most weirdly optimistic thing you've ever said. You made peace with it. That's growth, Alex.